Commissioner. I'd like to ask now the Honourable Neema Lugangira, who's a Member of Parliament for Tanzania and who's also here, sorry now to be putting this weight on you, but also here as a member of the Interparliamentary Union as well, to share with us her thoughts and reflections on this issue of technology-facilitated gender-based violence, and to thank her for joining us here today. She's a Member of Parliament for Tanzania. She's, as a parliamentarian, her own priorities have included the whole concept of gender equality and extending into the digital space and trying to accelerate digital inclusion in peripheral regions in Tanzania. She's a founding chair of the African Parliamentary Network on Internet Governance, and has also established two NGOs in Tanzania, one of which, the Amuka Hub, aims to accelerate digital inclusion in peripheral regions of Tanzania, and I know has actually delivered workshops on this very issue of online violence and harassment as well. So we're very glad for you to join us today, and thank you for doing so.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning. So as introduced, I'm Neema Lugangira, Member of Parliament from Tanzania. Very excited and humbled to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And I first would like to recognize the efforts of our government, the government of Tanzania, towards ensuring that we strengthen the online safety, particularly because Tanzania is very proud to be the only African country that has both president and head of state who is a woman, Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu Hassan. And with that recognition, it's obvious that when we're talking about online space being safe, it needs to be safe also for our leaders. And the fact that we have a female president makes it even more prominent for us as Tanzania to ensure that we strengthen the online safety, not only for our president, but also other women leaders and aspiring girls who want to be politicians and leaders, due to the fact that Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu Hassan is now not only an icon or an aspiration to Tanzania, but to the entire continent in Africa and the world at large. Secondly, I recognize and highly commend the efforts of the Irish government in this space of recognizing online gender-based violence, and the Irish Consortium as well, because very often when we're talking about gender-based violence, it's usually the physical ones that tend to be more focused on, and the online one seems to be somewhat a silent one. So I'm personally very, very grateful that at least I'm seeing countries like Ireland bringing this topic, kind of giving it life, so it will have more meaning and recognition in different initiatives. Even in Africa right now, through the African Union, it has been recognized that digital violence is a big issue on women. But one of the biggest ask, and usually we say the ask at the end, but I would like to begin with an ask, is through this CSW, the UN Women should recognize online gender-based violence as a form of violence. Because at the moment we speak about it, but it has not been enshrined in the UN Women gender-based violence types. And I think it is time that online gender-based violence should be recognized and stated by the UN Women to that effect. Now, speaking as a woman in politics, as a female parliamentarian, I can tell you that the online environment for us is horrific. And I have been active online prior to being a member of parliament. And the minute I was a member of parliament, it shifted totally. It is two different worlds. And it is not easy being a female politician and also being online. And the dangers that creates is that it makes our representation online to be bare minimal. I can just give a quick example. In Tanzania, we have about 146 female parliamentarians, but less than 5% are active online. That can just paint the picture of how bad the situation is. Majority of my colleagues don't want to be online because why should we subject ourselves to undue, treatment? And now, if I meet you here in the physical world and you abuse me, be it verbally, I have every right to go to the police. But online, I'm not able to do that. And just because I'm a member of parliament that does not mean that you have the entitlement to abuse me. Oftentimes, people kind of sway the agenda and tell us that you women in politics or you politicians don't want to be criticized. But let me tell you one thing. If I raise an issue and you have an issue on the topic that I've raised, discuss the issue. Criticize me on the issue. But when you now evade the issue and start discussing how I look in my outfit and start discussing how I became a member of parliament, thank you, then you know that that is no longer criticism. When you start discussing that you saw me remove my knickers to someone that paved way for me to become a parliamentarian, that is not criticism. That is abuse. And unfortunately, this is what always happens to us. And unfortunately, when you're a female politician, the easiest route is to sexualize you. That is the easiest route that is used, on and on and on. But unfortunately, it's as if society has also accepted that when you're in politics, when you're in public life, they tell us that you should have thick skin. This is what they always tell us, that you should have thick skin. But really, should I have thick skin? And to make it a bit unfortunate is when there is a different female being attacked online, people always turn around and point fingers at us and say, we're the women politicians, why are you not defending X, Y, Z is being attacked? But when the attack is on us, let me assure you, nobody speaks for us. And this is very unfortunate. Nobody speaks for women in politics. Why? Because apparently, it comes with our job title. Apparently. So to be honest, I am truly, truly, truly pleased that the Irish government and the Irish consortium has even recognized women in politics. And that goes in line with the great work that the IPU is doing. Because oftentimes, when these things are being discussed, women in politics are never considered. Now, the impact of that is this. I earlier stated about less than 5% of my colleagues are online, and this is across, it's similar in other African countries. So what does that mean? It means that we're self-censoring ourselves. And by us self-censoring, what does that mean? It means the discussions you're having here today, at the end of the day, whom do you need to work with to create these changes? You need legislators. So your biggest allies are your female legislators. But if we ourselves are not online, then you're going to discuss, you're going to have great things on paper, but at the end of the day, you need legislation. And you need people to push the legislation. The women in parliament are your biggest allies. But if you're not recognizing the issues that they're going through themselves, how are we going to achieve what we're discussing? So as a result of the online abuse, many of us are not online. So because we're not online, all of these discussions then become somewhat irrelevant because we need to be online. The second impact is by self-censoring, it means our visibility as women leaders becomes non-existent. And as politicians, we need visibility. If I'm to be re-elected, I need visibility, right? So if I'm not able to get the visibility, then what happens to my chances of being re-elected? So we are hindering women leaders to showcase the amount of the work that they're doing, to showcase the potential that they're bringing on board, to showcase the contribution towards development that we're doing, because we're not able to be freely online. The third impact is we have so many young girls and women aspiring to get into politics. One of the fundamental ambitions of the UN Women is to seeing that we reach gender equality in women in politics. How are we going to increase that number? If an aspiring girl who wants to get into politics sees me, a member of parliament, who is supposedly powerful in our own right, being abused and downright, belittled, yet I'm unable to do anything or take any action, will that girl want to get into politics? Will that young woman want to get into politics? Who wants to get into politics and suddenly your life is stripped naked? Who would want to do that? So then the efforts of getting to that 50-50 is somewhat being diminished. So to conclude, I think that things that we need to work on are the following. Number one, we need to recognize online gender-based violence, and this is to the level of UN Women actually declaring it as an issue. And I think this is where the Irish government and your stakeholders can come into play. Number two is we need the social media platforms to have a social responsibility on addressing this issue. Number three, very quickly, is we need to figure out ways of having laws that can protect women in politics online. And I commend Irish government has a law, even the German government has an act to improve enforcement on social networks, etc. And lastly, always engage us also as women in politics to be part of these discussions so that when we are creating legislation, we can also equally add value to this topic. Thank you very much.